The first gunshot sounded like a locker slamming. Elena Hart was crouched beside a second-grade desk, tying a red shoelace on a boy who had cried because his fingers were shaking too hard to make the knot. Outside her classroom windows, rain clawed down the glass in silver lines, turning Manhattan into a blur of sirens, headlights, and dark towers. Then the second gunshot came. This one was closer. Every child in room 204 froze. The classroom still smelled like crayons, pencil shavings, and the apple slices someone had spilled during snack time. A construction paper sun hung crookedly above the whiteboard. 23 children stared at Elena with wide eyes, waiting for her to make the world safe again. She forced herself to smile. "Lockdown position," she said softly, "just like we practiced." No one moved at first, not until she dimmed the lights. That was when panic began, in tiny, heartbreaking sounds. A chair leg scraped the floor. Someone whimpered. A little girl whispered for her mother. Elena moved quickly, lowering the blinds, locking the classroom door, sliding the magnet away from the latch with fingers that felt strangely calm. Calm was a lie, but it was a useful one. "Everyone behind the reading corner," she whispered. "No talking, no phones, eyes on me." The children moved like shadows, crawling behind the low bookshelves painted with cartoon whales. Elena checked the hallway through the small rectangular window in the door. Empty. Then a little girl appeared on the other side of the glass. Elena's breath stopped. The child could not have been more than 6. She stood alone in the hallway, soaked from rain, though she was inside the building. Her dark hair plastered to her cheeks, her eyes too still for a child's eyes. She wore a navy coat with gold buttons, and one white sock stained red near the ankle. Elena opened the door before fear could stop her. The girl did not speak. She stepped into the classroom, looked at the hidden children, then looked back at Elena as if deciding whether adults could still be trusted. "What's your name?" Elena whispered. The girl's lips trembled, but no sound came. Another sound broke through the rain. Engines. Not one car, many. Elena closed the door and locked it again. She guided the girl behind the bookshelf with the others, then gently pressed a finger to her own lips. Outside, sirens screamed down the street. Then came the helicopters. The windows pulsed with blue and red light. From the narrow angle between the blinds, Elena saw black SUVs flooding the block below, stopping sideways in the rain, as if they owned the city. Men in dark suits stepped out, not rushing, not shouting. Their stillness was worse than panic. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. "Principal Voss. Nipped order. Full lockdown. No one opens doors." A second message followed. "Unknown armed men entering building. Stay hidden." Elena looked at the silent little girl. The girl was staring at the classroom door, as if she knew exactly who was coming. Heavy footsteps moved through the hallway. Not police. Too controlled. Too measured. A man's voice came from beyond the door, quiet and cold enough to cut through wood. "Open it." Elena did not move. The children were trembling behind her. One boy had both hands over his mouth. The silent girl stood behind Elena's leg, tiny fingers gripping the hem of her skirt. The doorknob turned once, then stopped. Elena held her breath. The voice came again. "I know she is inside." Elena stepped closer to the door, every nerve in her body screaming. "This is a classroom full of children. No one comes in here." Silence. Then the hallway seemed to change. Even without seeing him, Elena felt the arrival of someone more dangerous than the men already outside. A different voice spoke. Lower, calmer, absolute. "Who are you?" Elena's hand tightened around the classroom key. "Elena Hart," she said. "Second-grade teacher. And whoever you are not entering this room." There was a pause. The man on the other side of the door said, "Miss Hart, there are men in this building who will kill every adult standing between them and that child. Then they'll have to start with me." The words left her before she could measure them. Behind the door, the silence turned sharp. One of the children began to cry. Elena heard a soft command in Italian, then retreating footsteps, then nothing. For 10 seconds, she thought she had won. Then every phone in the classroom lit up at once with an emergency alert. Manhattan East Side active threat. Shelter in place. Below the windows, more SUVs arrived. Above, the helicopter lights swept across the classroom ceiling. And then, from the stairwell, came the sound of men lowering their weapons. Not raising them, lowering them. Elena looked through the window in the door again. A man was walking down the school hallway as if he had never been afraid of anything in his life. He was tall, dressed in a black coat darkened by rain, his hair slicked back from a face carved into cold elegance. Men with guns moved behind him, but none stepped ahead of him. They watched him the way wolves watched fire. He stopped outside room 204. For one suspended second, Elena saw his face through the glass. He did not look angry. That frightened her more. He looked controlled, like violence, if violence wore a tailored suit and had learned patience. His eyes lowered. The silent girl stepped out from behind Elena. The man's mask cracked. It was so quick Elena almost missed it. A flicker in the eyes, a tightening of the mouth, a wound hidden behind power. The girl whispered one word, "Papa." Elena's blood went cold. The most feared man in that hallway looked through the glass at the child, then at Elena, and slowly removed his gloves. "Elena Hart," he said, "open the door. Not with guns pointed at my students." He glanced back once. Every weapon lowered immediately. Elena hesitated, then unlocked the door. The man entered alone. The children stopped breathing. Elena stood between him and the reading corner, though every instinct told her she was nothing compared to him. He smelled faintly of rain, smoke, and expensive wool. His presence filled the classroom without effort. The little girl ran to him. He dropped to one knee, not gracefully, not performatively. He went down as if the floor had been taken out from under him. His arms closed around the child with controlled force, one hand at the back of her head, the other gripping her coat like she might disappear if he let go. For several seconds, the Mafia Boss said nothing. His eyes closed, his jaw flexed. When he opened his eyes again, he looked at Elena. "You protected what belongs to me," he said quietly. "Now I protect you." Elena should have been relieved. Instead, she felt the invisible door of her normal life slam shut behind her. His name was Dante Moretti. Elena learned that from the whispers, not from him. As his men cleared the school floor by floor, teachers and staff were escorted into the auditorium under police supervision. No one spoke above a whisper. Principal Voss, usually a man with a permanent scowl and a voice like a stapler, stood pale near the trophy case, while a detective argued with one of Dante's men. The little girl stayed attached to Dante's hand. Elena stayed attached to the girl. She did not know why. Maybe because the child's fingers kept reaching for her whenever a man with a weapon came too close. Maybe because Elena had spent her entire adult life believing that a frightened child was the only emergency that mattered. Or maybe because Dante Moretti kept watching her as if he could not decide whether she was brave, foolish, or something far more dangerous. When the police finally approached, Dante's lawyer appeared from nowhere with a federal judge on speakerphone and enough legal language to freeze the entire corridor. The officers looked furious. Dante looked bored. Elena was not bored. She was shaking now. Not visibly. She had become very good at hiding that. But inside, her body was catching up to everything it had survived. A detective pulled her aside near the stairwell. "Miss Hart, do you know who that man is?" "No. You should be careful. I'm standing in a school full of armed men. That advice feels late." The detective glanced toward Dante. "That child is connected to a homicide investigation." Elena's eyes moved to the girl. "She's 6. She's also a witness." Before Elena could answer, Dante appeared beside them. Not hurried, not loud. He simply arrived, and the detective stopped speaking. "Miss Hart has given you enough," Dante said. The detective's face hardened. "You don't get to decide that." Dante's eyes did not change. "I decide more than you think." Elena turned on him. "Don't speak for me." The hallway went still. A few of Dante's men looked at her as if she had stepped in front of a moving train. Dante slowly looked down at her. "Do you understand what is happening?" "No." But I understand that everyone here is treating a child like evidence, property, or leverage. I'm not interested in joining them." Something flickered in his expression. The detective used the silence. "Miss Hart, we need you to come with us for a statement." Dante said, "No." Elena said, "Yes." Their voices overlapped. She looked at him. He looked at her. The tension between them was immediate, sharp, and irrationally intimate for two strangers surrounded by police tape and crying children. Dante lowered his voice. "You are not safe with them." "And I'm safe with you?" His gaze moved over her face, lingering briefly on the small cut near her temple from when she had hit the bookshelf during the lockdown. "No," he said. "But I am honest about what I am." That was the first thing about Dante Moretti that unsettled her. He did not pretend to be good. The assassination attempt happened 7 minutes later. Elena was walking toward the auditorium with the detective when the window above the stairwell exploded inward. Glass burst like ice. A bullet struck the wall inches from her head. Someone screamed. The detective shoved her down, but another shot dropped him before he could draw his gun. The hallway erupted. Children cried from the auditorium. Police shouted. Dante's men moved like a black tide. Elena crawled toward the open classroom door, ears ringing, hands slipping on broken glass. She saw the little girl standing frozen at the end of the hallway, separated from Dante by chaos. Elena. She did not know who shouted her name. She ran. A bullet shattered the trophy case beside her. She grabbed the girl and pulled her down behind a row of lockers. The child was shaking so violently, Elena thought she might break. Then Dante was there. He crossed the hallway through gunfire without ducking. One of his men tried to pull him back. Dante shoved him aside, reached Elena and his daughter, and covered both of them with his body as another volley tore through the lockers. Elena was trapped beneath him, her cheek pressed against his coat, her hand still clutching the child's. He did not tremble. He smelled of rain and smoke and blood. When the shooting stopped, Dante lifted his head slowly. His eyes were no longer cold. They were black with rage. He looked at the shattered window, then at the men around him. "Find who fired," he said. "Bring me the person who sent them." No one asked what he would do after that. Elena looked up at him, breathless and terrified. His gaze dropped to her mouth for less than a second before returning to her eyes. It was not desire exactly, not yet. It was recognition, violent and unwanted. "You ran toward her," he said. "She was alone. You could have died, so could she." For the first time, Dante Moretti looked at Elena as if she had become a problem he did not know how to solve. By sunset, Elena was inside one of the black SUVs. She had not agreed to it, not exactly. The police wanted to place her in protective custody. Dante told them protective custody had already failed, considering a sniper had fired through a school window under their supervision. The detective who survived backed him reluctantly, one hand pressed to the bandage on his shoulder. "Elena," Detective Harris said, voice low. "I don't like this. But Moretti has resources we don't. Someone inside law enforcement leaked the school location. Then arrest him," Elena said, looking at Dante. Harris gave a humorless laugh. "Half the city has tried." Dante stood near the SUV door, his daughter asleep in his arms. The child's cheek rested against his shoulder. His face had returned to marble, but one hand moved again and again over her hair, betraying him. "She comes with us," he said. Elena folded her arms. "I have an apartment, a cat, 23 students who will be traumatized tomorrow. I am not disappearing because you ordered it." Dante looked at her. "Your apartment is being watched. Your phone is compromised. Your principal has already sold your name to a reporter, and 3 men who tried to kill my daughter now know your face." Elena felt the blood leave her cheeks. He opened the SUV door. "You can hate me from somewhere secure. I don't hate you. Not yet." That should not have made her heart twist. The safe house was not a house. It was a penthouse above Central Park, with bulletproof glass, private elevators, armed guards, and views so beautiful they felt obscene. Manhattan glittered below, like a kingdom built of diamonds and secrets. Rain slid over the windows. Far beneath them, sirens moved through the streets like distant animals. The little girl's name was Sofia. She had not spoken since calling Dante Papa at the school. Elena learned this from a woman named Bianca, Dante's older cousin, and the only person in the penthouse who seemed willing to look him in the eye without fear. "She stopped speaking 3 nights ago," Bianca said quietly, while Elena watched Sofia sleep on a sofa under a cashmere blanket. "After her mother was killed." Elena's chest tightened. Dante stood by the windows, speaking on the phone in Italian. Even without understanding the words, Elena recognized command. Men obeyed him instantly. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. "What happened?" Elena asked. Bianca hesitated. Dante ended the call. "That is not your concern." Elena turned. "A child watched her mother die and ran into my classroom with blood on her sock. If you think I'm going to sit quietly because you bought the skyline, you picked the wrong teacher." Bianca's eyebrows rose. Dante slipped his phone into his coat pocket. "You are here because you are a witness. I'm here because your daughter trusts me." His jaw tightened. The words had landed somewhere tender. He crossed the room slowly, stopping close enough that Elena had to tilt her head back. He was too near. She hated that she noticed. Hated the controlled warmth of him, the careful restraint, the way his hands stayed at his sides, as if touching her would be a decision with consequences. "My daughter trusting you is exactly why you are dangerous," he said. "To whom?" "To me." The answer was too honest. Elena had no defense against it. That night, she was given a guest room larger than her apartment. She should have slept. Instead, she stood by the window in borrowed silk pajamas and watched the city shimmer beneath the storm. At 2:13 a.m., she saw Dante sitting in the dark living room. Sofia slept curled beside him, one small hand wrapped around his finger. Dante did not move. He watched the window reflection, not the city. His face in the glass looked haunted. Elena stepped quietly into the room. "You should sleep," she said. "So should you? She's safe here?" "No." Elena stopped. "That's your answer?" "That is the truth. You're her father. You're supposed to tell yourself she's safe. I stopped lying to myself years ago." Sofia stirred. Dante looked down, and the feared man vanished for the span of one breath. His thumb brushed the child's knuckles with devastating gentleness. Elena looked away because the intimacy of it felt private. "What happened to her mother?" she asked. Dante did not answer for so long she thought he would dismiss her. Then he said, "Her name was Camila. She was brave. She believed I could leave this life." "Could you?" "No." "Did that get her killed?" His eyes lifted to hers. "Yes." The word should have ended the conversation. Instead, it opened something. Elena sat on the opposite sofa, careful not to come too close. "My mother died when I was 9, she said. "Car accident. My father raised me. He used to tell me adults make children carry things they were never meant to hold." She looked at Sofia. "I became a teacher because I wanted to be one adult who didn't." Dante watched her in the dark. "Where is your father now?" "Dead." "How?" "Officially? Heart attack." She smiled faintly without humor. "Unofficially, he spent his last years afraid of things he wouldn't explain." Dante's expression changed so subtly she almost missed it. "What was his name?" "Thomas Hart." The room cooled. Dante stood. Sofia stirred again, and he froze until she settled. Then he turned to Elena with a face so controlled it frightened her. "Go to your room," he said. "What?" "Now." The command snapped through the darkness. Elena stood, anger cutting through confusion. "Don't do that. Don't act human for 5 minutes and then treat me like staff." His eyes were unreadable. "You should not have told me that name." "My father's name?" Dante looked toward the windows, where Manhattan glowed like a warning. "Your father hid things that belonged to my family." Elena felt the floor tilt. "What things?" "People," he said. Before she could respond, the penthouse alarm went off. The lights turned red. Dante's men moved instantly. Bianca rushed in, barefoot, gun in hand. Elena barely had time to reach Sofia before Dante caught her wrist. Not hard, never hard, but absolute. "Stay behind me. I need to get Sofia." She is already covered. A hidden panel opened in the wall behind the bookcase. Elena stared as Dante lifted the sleeping child, then guided both of them into a narrow passage lit by emergency strips. A secret tunnel? Elena whispered, breathless. Several. Of course you have secret tunnels in a penthouse. Technically, they are service corridors. Do you ever get tired of being terrifying? He glanced back at her. Do you ever get tired of pretending fear stops you? The corridor led to a private elevator. Gunfire cracked somewhere above them. Sofia woke and began to cry silently, mouth open, no sound coming out. Elena reached for her. Dante hesitated for the first time, then handed over his daughter. The child buried her face in Elena's neck. Dante watched them together, and the expression on his face was almost unbearable. Fear, disguised as control. They escaped to a rooftop helipad under violent rain. The city was a blur of lights and storm. A helicopter waited, blades slicing the air. Dante moved them toward it, coat whipping around him, one hand at Elena's back without quite touching her. Near the helicopter, a sniper round hit the concrete. Dante shoved Elena and Sofia behind a steel support. His men returned fire. Elena clutched the child, rain soaking through her clothes, hair plastered to her face. Dante moved in front of them, a black silhouette against lightning. For one terrible second, Elena saw the thumbnail image of her own life. A mafia boss standing between her and death on a rooftop above Manhattan. His hand stained with blood, his eyes fixed on her, as if the entire city could burn, and he would still choose her first. Then an explosion tore through the helipad. The helicopter's tail burst into flame. Dante turned, saw the fire, and made a decision without blinking. We go down. Down where? Elena shouted. He looked at her. Underground. The tunnels beneath Manhattan were nothing like the penthouse. They were old, damp, and lit by yellow bulbs that flickered over brick walls. The air smelled of metal, rainwater, and forgotten history. Dante's men moved ahead and behind them. Sofia had fallen silent again, one small hand locked in Elena's. Dante walked beside them now, no longer willing to put distance between himself and his daughter. Or Elena. She could feel his attention like heat. After nearly an hour, they reached a hidden garage beneath a shuttered hotel. Black SUVs waited, along with dry clothes, medical kits, and a doctor who did not ask questions. Elena sat on the edge of a table while the doctor cleaned the cut on her arm from the rooftop debris. Dante stood across the room, speaking to his men. His shirt was torn at the shoulder, blood darkening the fabric. She realized it was his blood. You're hurt, she said. The room went quiet. Dante did not look at the wound. It is nothing. Sit down. One of his men coughed, as if he had swallowed a laugh, and immediately regretted it. Dante looked at her slowly. Excuse me? You heard me. Elena, he said, warning low in his voice. You can intimidate everyone else in this room. I teach second graders. I've seen worse power struggles over glue sticks. No one breathed. Then Sofia tugged Dante's sleeve. Papa, she whispered. It was the first word she had spoken since the school. Dante's face changed. Sofia pointed to the chair. Sit. The Mafia Boss of New York sat. Elena did not smile, though she wanted to. She cleaned the wound herself when the doctor stepped aside. Dante watched her hands. The air between them grew too quiet. You should not be gentle with me, he said. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because your daughter is watching. That is worse. Why? His gaze lifted. Because now I want something I have no right to want. Her fingers stilled against his shoulder. The room seemed to narrow to the space between them. What do you want? She asked, though she knew she should not. Dante's eyes dropped to her hand, then back to her face. A world where you were never pulled into mine. It was not the answer she expected. It was worse, because it sounded like regret, and regret was dangerously close to tenderness. Over the next 3 days, Elena disappeared from the life she knew. News vans camped outside her apartment. Her name appeared online beside words like mystery teacher, mafia child, Manhattan lockdown, and Moretti connection. The school placed her on administrative leave for her safety. Her principal gave an interview suggesting Elena had made questionable choices during the crisis. Dante watched the interview in silence from a candlelit mansion on the Hudson, where they had been moved after the penthouse attack. Elena stood behind him, arms folded. "Turn it off," she said. Dante did not. On screen, Principal Voss implied she had endangered students by opening the classroom door. Elena's face burned. Dante picked up his phone. "No," she said immediately. He paused. "You don't even know what I'm going to do. You have that expression." "What expression?" "The one that says someone's life is about to become very difficult." Dante looked almost amused. "Almost. He humiliated you publicly. He's a coward. He lied." "I know. He put blame on you to protect himself." "I know." His voice lowered. "Why are you protecting him?" "I'm not protecting him. I'm protecting myself from becoming someone who needs you to destroy every person who hurts me." The words landed hard. Dante set the phone down, but his eyes remained dark. "You think that is what I want? Your dependence? Don't you?" He stood. The candlelight caught the sharp lines of his face. Outside, rain pressed against the windows. The mansion felt like a museum of expensive loneliness. Marble floors, dark wood, oil paintings, rooms too large for peace. "I want," he said slowly, "to know that when the world turns its teeth toward you, I am allowed to stand between." Elena's throat tightened. "That sounds almost noble." "It is not. I would kill for it." The honesty should have repelled her. Part of it did. Another part, the part that had been alone for too long, tired of being strong because no one else ever showed up, felt the dangerous pull of being chosen with such terrifying certainty. She stepped back. Dante noticed. He always noticed. "I frighten you," he said. "Yes. Good. That's not something decent men want." "I am not a decent man." "No," she whispered. "But you love your daughter." His expression closed. "That does not redeem me." "I didn't say it did." Sofia found them then, standing at the bottom of the staircase in pajamas, clutching a stuffed rabbit someone had bought in a hurry. She looked between them, sensing the storm no child should have to interpret. Elena softened instantly. "Couldn't sleep?" Sofia shook her head. Dante started toward her, but the child ran to Elena. He stopped. The pain on his face was gone in a second, but Elena saw it. So did Sofia. The girl looked back at him, guilt trembling in her small mouth. Dante crouched at a distance. "It is all right, cuore mio." Sofia did not move. Elena knelt. "You can love your dad and still feel scared. Both can be true." The child's eyes filled. Dante looked away. That night, Elena sat beside Sofia until she slept. When she left the room, Dante was waiting in the hall. "Thank you," he said. It sounded like a word he rarely used. "She needs a therapist, not armed guards. She needs to be alive first. And after?" He looked through the half-open bedroom door at his daughter. "After is a luxury my family has never been good at reaching." Elena studied him. "Who killed Camilla?" The hallway seemed to hold its breath. Dante's answer was soft. "My brother." Luca Moretti entered the story like poison dressed in charm. Elena saw him first on a security feed in Dante's study. He was younger than Dante, handsome in a brighter, crueler way, with a smile made for cameras and betrayal. He stood outside Elena's apartment building under an umbrella, looking straight up toward the hidden camera Dante had placed across the street. Then Luca held up a child's drawing. Elena recognized it instantly. A purple bird with crooked wings. It had been on her classroom wall. Dante went still. Luca smiled into the camera and tore the drawing in half. Elena felt cold spread through her. "He was in my classroom? After the lockdown," Dante said. "He got past the police?" Dante's silence was answer enough. On the screen, Luca spoke, though no sound came through. A lip reader beside Dante translated. "Give me the girl, or I take the teacher apart, piece by piece." Dante turned away from the monitor. No rage, no shouting, only a silence so deadly that every man in the room lowered his eyes. Elena's voice shook despite her effort. "Why does he want Sofia?" Dante looked at her. because she saw him kill her mother. The words hit with terrible clarity. Sofia had not simply survived tragedy. She carried the truth inside her silence. And you didn't tell the police? My brother owns men inside the police. Judges, reporters, doctors. If Sofia speaks in the wrong room, she dies in the right one. Elena thought of the school, the sniper, the penthouse, the rooftop. You were hiding her. Yes, from your enemies, from my blood. That confession changed something. Not enough to erase what he was, but enough to make her understand the loneliness of a man who trusted tunnels more than family. Dante moved to leave the study. Elena caught his sleeve before she could stop herself. His entire body stilled. Where are you going? To end a conversation. That means kill someone, doesn't it? His eyes dropped to where her hand held his sleeve. Elena, don't. You do not know what you are asking. I'm asking you not to walk into whatever trap he set because he threatened me. He threatened you, Dante said, voice almost too soft to hear. That is the trap he set for himself. Her fingers tightened. He wants you emotional. I am not emotional. You are when it's Sofia. A pause. Then, dangerously, she added, and when it's me. For a moment, Dante looked as if she had struck him. The truth stood between them, exposed. He stepped closer. Not touching. Almost. You should be careful with what you notice, he said. You should be careful with what you reveal. His gaze lowered to her mouth. Her breath caught. He lifted one hand as if he might touch her cheek, but stopped, inches away. The restraint was more intimate than contact. It made her aware of everything. The rain against the windows, the warmth of him, the fact that danger had somehow become wrapped around desire. Then his phone rang. The moment shattered. Dante answered, listened, and his expression turned to stone. Elena, he said, your apartment is on fire. By the time they reached the city, her building was a burning wound against the night. Firefighters had blocked the street. Neighbors stood under umbrellas, wrapped in blankets, watching smoke pour from the 4th floor. Elena pushed toward the barricade, but Dante caught her around the waist. My cat, she gasped. Milo is in there. Elena, she fought him. Let go of me. It is not safe. My cat is in there. For the first time, Dante looked genuinely helpless. Then he turned to one of his men. Which window? 4th floor, rear unit. Dante removed his coat. Elena froze. No, he did not look at her. Dante, no. He handed his gun to Bianca and crossed the barricade before anyone could stop him. Firefighters shouted. Dante ignored them. Smoke swallowed him at the side entrance. Elena stood in the rain, unable to breathe. Minutes passed. Too many. The building groaned. Glass shattered above. A burst of flame lit the street orange. Elena whispered his name. Then Dante emerged through smoke, coughing blood. His white shirt gray with ash, holding a terrified orange cat against his chest. The crowd went silent. Elena ran to him. He handed her Milo, like the cat was something sacred. You went into a burning building for a cat, she said, voice breaking. Dante looked at her through soot and rain. No, he said. I went because you would have gone without me. Something inside her gave way. Not love, not yet, but the first terrible surrender to the knowledge that this man, this dangerous, impossible man, understood her courage and feared it more than bullets. The fire made national news. So did the footage. A shaky phone video showed Dante Moretti emerging from Elena's burning apartment with her cat in his arms while she ran toward him through rain. By morning, the internet had turned it into a love story, a scandal, and a conspiracy theory. Teacher and Mafia Boss, Manhattan's darkest romance? Elena hated every headline. Dante hated the word romance, or pretended to. It gives Luca leverage, he said at breakfast, reading the security brief on a tablet, while Sofia fed small pieces of toast to Milo under the table. Elena poured coffee. Everything gives Luca leverage, not everything. He glanced at her. She ignored the warmth in her face. Bianca entered, carrying a sealed envelope. Her expression erased the fragile peace in the room. This came through the school district office, she said. Elena took it before Dante could. Inside was a photograph. Her father, Thomas Hart, standing 20 years younger beside a woman Elena did not recognize. In the woman's arms was a baby. On the back, written in her father's handwriting, "If the Morettis come for her, hide the child. Trust no brother against brother." Elena sat down slowly. Dante took the photo from her hand, and for the first time since she had met him, he looked shaken. "Who is she?" Elena asked. Dante's voice was rough. "My mother." Elena stared at him. "Why would my father have a photo of your mother holding a baby?" Dante did not answer. Bianca did. "Because your father was the family's fixer before he disappeared." Elena stood so quickly the chair scraped backward. "No." "Elena," Dante said. "No. My father was a social worker. He became one after," Bianca said gently. "After what?" Dante's eyes met hers. "After he helped my mother hide a child." The room spun. "What child?" Dante's silence told her before his mouth did. "My brother," he said. "Luca." The betrayal was not simple. It never was, in Dante's world. It had roots, tangled through decades. Thomas Hart had once worked for the Moretti family, not as a killer, but as a man who made inconvenient children disappear into safer lives. When Dante's mother discovered that her youngest son, Luca, had inherited not just ambition but cruelty, she tried to send him away before he could become a weapon in the hands of their father. Thomas helped her, but Luca found his way back, and he never forgave anyone who had known he was unwanted. "My father knew?" Elena asked, pacing the study. "He knew your family? He knew all of this?" Dante stood near the fireplace, allowing her anger because he knew he deserved some of it, even if he had not earned all of it. "He hid you from it. He lied to me. Yes. And you knew. I suspected after you told me his name." She turned on him. "You let me stay here, eat at your table, hold your daughter, while you investigated my dead father?" His jaw flexed. "Yes." The word hurt because it was honest. Elena laughed once, broken and disbelieving. "You don't get to make honesty sound noble after lying by omission. I needed to know whether Luca had sent you." That stopped her. "You thought I was part of this?" "For one night." "For one night," she repeated, stunned. "And after that?" Dante's eyes darkened. "After that I watched you sleep on Sofia's floor, because she was afraid of the dark. I watched you stand in front of bullets for a child you did not know. I watched you lose your home and still ask whether your students were safe." His voice lowered. "After that, I knew you were exactly what you seemed, which made you more dangerous, not less." Tears burned her eyes. She hated them. "Because you wanted to trust me? Because I did." The room fell silent. It should have softened her. Instead, it broke something open. "You don't trust," she said. "You possess. You guard. You investigate. You decide what people are allowed to know and call it protection." Dante absorbed every word without flinching. "Maybe. I am not Sofia. I am not one of your men. I am not something that belongs to you." His expression changed. The possessive instinct in him rose, visible and frightening. Then he forced it down. "No," he said quietly. "You are not." Elena walked out before he could say more. That night, she packed. There was nowhere to go. Her apartment was destroyed, her school was surrounded by reporters, and Luca had threatened her life. But the mansion had begun to feel like a beautiful cage, and Dante's protection like a hand at her throat. She made it as far as the garden. Rain had turned the hedges black. Beyond the iron gate, the Hudson moved like dark glass. Elena clutched her borrowed coat around herself and stopped when she saw Dante waiting beside a black car. Of course he knew. Anger flared. "Were you tracking me?" "Yes. At least you admit it. I would rather have you furious than dead." "I'm not going back inside." "I know." That surprised her. Dante opened the car door. "Where are we going?" she asked. "A place without my men listening through walls." "You expect me to get in a car with you?" "No." His gaze held hers. "I am asking." The difference mattered. She hated that it mattered. The car took them to an abandoned church in Harlem. Old brick walls wet from rain, stained glass broken in places, candles burning near the altar, as if someone still believed in mercy. Dante walked ahead and set his gun on a pew before turning to her. "Why here?" Elena asked. "My mother brought me here when I was a boy. After my father ordered my first lesson in obedience." "What kind of lesson?" Dante's eyes were empty. "The kind that teaches a child pain is language." Elena's anger faltered. He did not use the moment to excuse himself. That made it worse. "I became what my father built," he said. "Camila believed I could become something else. I loved her for it. Then I let her die because I hesitated to see Luca clearly." Elena stood beneath the broken stained glass, rain tapping through the damaged roof somewhere in the shadows. "Sofia saw?" Dante nodded. "She was hiding under the bed. Luca thought Camila had given me documents proving his betrayal. He came for them. Camila refused. Sofia watched him shoot her." Elena closed her eyes. "When I found them," Dante said, voice still calm in the terrible way grief sometimes becomes calm, "Sofia was covered in her mother's blood and would not make a sound." Elena could see it. She wished she could not. Dante looked toward the altar. "I have killed men for less than what Luca did, but he is my brother and our family is divided. If I move wrong, there is war. If I wait too long, he reaches Sofia." His eyes returned to Elena. "Then you opened a classroom door." She swallowed. "And now? Now he knows what I know." "What?" Dante stepped closer, stopping just beyond touch. "That I will burn my entire family to the ground before I let him take either of you." The words should have terrified her. They did. But beneath the terror was something else, a dangerous ache. A longing to be protected so completely it felt almost like being seen. "You can't say things like that," she whispered. "I know. You can't make me feel safe and trapped at the same time. I know. You can't look at me like I'm the only thing standing between you and becoming a monster." His face tightened. "Elena." She stepped closer this time. Not enough to touch. Enough to choose the danger of proximity. "What happens if I leave?" His control strained visibly. "I send guards you never see. And if I tell you not to, I fail to obey. At least you're honest." Not enough. The confession hung between them. Then Dante said, "Your father left something for you." Elena's breath caught. "What?" "A key." He reached into his coat and handed her a small brass key on a worn red ribbon. Elena recognized the ribbon instantly. Her father used to tie it around old books he said were too important to lose. Her fingers closed over it. "Where did you get this?" "From a deposit box, opened after your apartment burned. Luca wanted what was inside." "What does it open?" Dante's gaze moved to the altar. Elena turned. Behind a loose stone beneath the Virgin Mary statue was a hidden compartment. Inside sat a metal box. Her father had left her a letter, a flash drive, and a photograph of Dante as a boy standing beside Luca. Elena read the letter with shaking hands. "My dearest Elena, if you are reading this, then the past has found you. I am sorry. I tried to keep you away from the Morettis, but some families do not release what they have touched. There is a child who must be protected. There was always a child. First Luca, then others. I saved some. I failed more. Dante Moretti is dangerous. Do not romanticize him. Do not trust his world. But if his daughter is in danger, trust that he will destroy himself before he lets harm reach her. And if he comes to you, it means he has finally run out of places to hide the innocent. Forgive me." Your father Elena pressed the letter to her chest. Dante stood in silence, giving her grief space. On the flash drive was a video. Thomas Hart, older and thinner, seated in the same church. "Elena," her father said on screen, "if Dante Moretti is with you, listen carefully. Luca was never the abandoned child. He was the chosen one. The old families planned to put him in power because he could be controlled through his resentment. I hid records of payments, murders, judges, police captains, all of it. The evidence is divided. Dante has one half, you now have the other." Elena looked at Dante. He looked just as stunned. On screen, Thomas continued. The final file unlocks only with Sofia's voice. Camila recorded the truth with the child present. If Sofia speaks the phrase she heard that night, the file's open. That is why Luca wants her silent. The video ended. The church felt suddenly too cold. Elena understood before Dante said it. Sofia was not only a witness, she was the key. The attack came before dawn, not at the mansion, at the church. Luca had followed the key, or Dante, or Elena, maybe all three. The first sign was the candles going out one by one in a gust of cold air. Then gunfire shattered the stained glass. Dante moved faster than thought, dragging Elena behind a stone column as bullets tore through the pews. His men returned fire from the side entrance. Smoke filled the nave. Elena clutched the metal box to her chest. "Stay down," Dante ordered. "Where's Sofia?" "Safe with Bianca." But his eyes flickered. A phone rang from the aisle. Dante's phone. It had fallen from his coat. The screen showed Bianca. Dante reached it between shots and answered. Elena saw his face change. Not rage. Fear. Pure, naked fear. Luca's voice came through the speaker, cheerful and intimate. "Hello, brother." Dante said nothing. "Elena, are you there?" Luca called. "I hope so. This is really more about you now." Dante's hand tightened around the phone. Luca continued. "You see, Sofia loves her teacher. She walked right out of the safe room when my men told her Miss Hart was hurt." Elena's stomach dropped. Dante closed his eyes for 1 second. When he opened them, he was no longer a man. He was a verdict. "Where?" he asked. Luca laughed. "The old hotel. Midnight. Bring the files." "Bring the teacher. Come alone, or I teach your daughter what happens when little girls speak." The line went dead. Elena grabbed Dante's arm. "We're going." "No. She came out because of me, and he asked for you because of me." "Dante." "No." The word cracked through the church. Elena flinched. He saw it, and regret flashed across his face. He lowered his voice. "I cannot lose her. I know. I cannot lose you too." The words escaped him before he could stop them. Everything stopped. The gunfire outside, the smoke, the danger, the ruined church. Elena stared at him. Dante looked almost angry with himself. Then he turned away, but she caught his face between both hands. The contact shocked them both. "You don't get to decide alone anymore," she said. "Not if you're going to say things like that." His eyes burned into hers. "Elena, she trusts me. Use that. Use me. I will not use you. You use everyone, not you." The answer was immediate, fierce, and devastating. The old hotel stood near the foggy edge of the East River, abandoned above ground and alive beneath it. Once, it had hosted politicians, singers, and men who made fortunes disappear. Now, its ballroom was dust, broken chandeliers, and moonlight through cracked ceilings. At midnight, Dante walked in with Elena beside him. No visible guards, no weapons in their hands, only the metal box. Luca waited beneath the chandelier, holding Sofia by the shoulder. The child's eyes found Elena and filled with tears. Elena's entire body wanted to run to her. Dante's hand brushed hers. "Not holding. Warning." Luca smiled. "The teacher. I understand now, Dante. Really, I do. She has that ordinary goodness men like us should leave untouched." His eyes sharpened, which is exactly why touching it is so satisfying. Dante's voice was calm. "Let Sofia go. Always commanding. Always pretending you were born to rule." Luca leaned close to the child. "Tell him what you saw, sweetheart." Sofia trembled. Dante's control cracked. "Do not speak to her." Luca laughed. "There he is." Elena stepped forward. Dante caught her wrist. She gently pulled free. Every eye moved to her. Elena looked only at Sofia. "Hi, sweetheart." Sofia's lip trembled. "You were very brave at school," Elena said softly. "Do you remember what I told you when you were scared?" Sofia nodded. "Both things can be true," the child whispered. Luca's smile faded. Elena kept her voice steady. "You can be scared and brave. You can love your dad and be angry. You can remember something terrible and still be safe now." Enough, Luca said. Dante moved one step. Luca pressed a gun to Sofia's side. The room froze. Elena's heart stopped. Dante did not move again, but something inside him shattered visibly. His face remained controlled, but his eyes, God, his eyes, were those of a father being skinned alive. Luca looked delighted. There, that is the face I wanted. Elena realized then that Luca did not only want power, he wanted Dante broken. She looked at the metal box in Dante's hand, then at the shattered mirrors lining the ballroom wall. In one reflection, far above on the balcony, she saw Bianca. Dante had not come alone. Of course he had not. Elena took another step. "Luca," she said. He looked at her. "You think Sofia is the key because she heard the phrase." His eyes narrowed. "She is." "No," Elena said. "She's a child, and children don't exist to unlock adult sins." "Elena," Dante warned softly. But she understood something now. Her father had hidden people. Camilla had recorded truth. Dante had built tunnels and safe houses. Everyone had treated Sofia as a key, except Elena. "She doesn't need to say it," Elena said. Luca's gun shifted. "She doesn't remember." Sofia looked confused. Dante's eyes locked on Elena's. "Trust me," she tried to tell him. Maybe he did, because he did not stop her. Elena reached into her pocket and pulled out her classroom phone. The phrase was already recorded. Luca's face changed. "During lockdown," Elena said. "When she first entered my room, she whispered it. My classroom audio system records during emergency alerts. The school uses it for incident review." That was not entirely true, but it was close enough to make Luca afraid, and fear made people look away from what mattered. For half a second, Luca looked toward the phone. Bianca fired from the balcony. The shot hit Luca's shoulder. Dante moved at the same instant, crossing the ballroom with terrifying speed. Sofia broke free and ran toward Elena. Elena dropped to her knees and caught her as gunfire erupted from every side. Dante hit Luca like wrath made flesh. They crashed through a table. The gun skidded across the floor. Luca laughed, even while bleeding, swinging a blade he had hidden at his wrist. It cut Dante across the ribs. Dante did not react. He slammed Luca into a cracked mirror so hard, the glass webbed behind them. Elena covered Sofia's ears, but she could not look away. Dante had always seemed controlled, a man who kept violence on a leash. Now the leash was gone. Every movement carried years of betrayal, grief, and the image of his daughter under a gun. Luca spat blood. "You love them. That makes you weak." Dante gripped his brother by the throat. "No," he said. "It gives me something worth ending you for." Elena stood, still holding Sofia. "Dante." His hand tightened. Luca smiled, even then. "She's watching." Dante froze. Sofia was staring at him. So was Elena. The entire ballroom held its breath. Dante could kill him. Everyone knew it. Luca knew it most of all. Elena did not plead. She did not excuse Luca. She simply looked at Dante and let him decide what kind of father Sofia would remember from this room. Dante released his brother. Luca collapsed, choking. Dante stepped back. For 1 second, Elena saw the cost of mercy tear through him. Then Luca reached for the fallen gun. Dante fired once. The sound echoed through the ruined ballroom. Luca fell still. Sofia screamed. Dante dropped the gun as if it burned him. He turned toward his daughter, but did not approach. Blood ran down his side. His face was pale, his eyes destroyed. "Sofia," he whispered. The child clung to Elena, sobbing. Dante nodded once, as if accepting a sentence he had always expected. Then he turned away. That was when Elena understood the final shape of his fear. He had not been afraid of dying. He had been afraid that saving his daughter would make her see him as the monster. The aftermath was a blur of sirens, federal raids, and men in suits being dragged from townhouses before sunrise. The files opened without Sofia, not because of classroom audio. That had been Elena's gamble. They opened because Camilla had left a second key hidden in the pendant around Sofia's neck. A tiny audio chip, containing the phrase Luca had spoken before killing her. Blood protects blood. The evidence destroyed half the Moretti family and half the officials who had protected them. Judges resigned. Police captains vanished. A senator held a press conference with shaking hands. Reporters camped outside every courthouse in Manhattan. Dante Moretti disappeared from public view. Elena did not see him for 6 days. Sofia stayed with Bianca in a secure brownstone under federal supervision. Elena visited every morning. She brought books, clean clothes, and Milo, who had become a surprisingly effective therapy cat. Sofia began speaking in fragments, then sentences. She asked for Elena often. She asked for her father once. "Is Papa bad?" she whispered. Elena's heart broke carefully, the way fragile things break when you try to protect them. "Your Papa has done bad things," Elena said, "and he saved you." "Both true?" Elena smiled sadly. "Both true." On the 7th day, Elena found Dante outside her burned apartment building. Rain fell softly over the street. The windows were boarded now. The sidewalk had been cleared, but the smell of smoke still lived in the brick. Dante stood beside a black car, no bodyguards visible, though Elena knew better now. He looked thinner, pale beneath his controlled expression. The cut near his temple had healed badly. His black coat was unbuttoned, and rain gathered on his shoulders. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I know. You missed Sofia asking for you." Pain moved through his eyes. "I know." Elena stepped closer. "She needs you. She needs better than me. She needs you to become better. That's not the same thing." He looked at the ruined building. "I killed my brother in front of her. He would have killed her. That does not erase what she saw. No, it doesn't." Rain slipped down his face like something almost human. "Elena," he said, voice low. "I have spent my life turning love into protection, because protection was the only language I trusted. I watched every person I loved become leverage. My mother, Camila, Sofia." His eyes met hers. "You," she swallowed. "I cannot make my world clean enough for you. I didn't ask you to. You should. Don't tell me what I should want." The ghost of a smile touched his mouth and vanished. "There she is," he said softly. Her chest tightened. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded document. "What is that?" "The deed to a new apartment. In your name. No cameras. No guards inside. Security outside only if you approve it." Elena stared at him. "You bought me an apartment?" "Yes. Dante. You may sell it. Burn it. Give it away. It is not a cage." "That's exactly what men say when they build beautiful cages." He nodded. "So, I also brought this." He handed her a second envelope. Inside was a signed legal agreement transferring a portion of Moretti assets into a trust for Sofia, overseen by Bianca and an independent court-appointed guardian. Dante had removed his own unilateral control. Elena looked up slowly. "You gave up control." His jaw tightened. "I am learning." The simplicity of it hurt. "You could have told me this at the brownstone. I did not know if I had the right to see her. You're her father. I am also the reason she needed saving." Elena stepped closer. "And what am I?" His control flickered. "Elena, no. Tell me, am I leverage? A witness? A mistake? An obsession?" Rain surrounded them, soft and silver. Dante looked at her with everything he had once hidden behind power. "You are the first person who stood between my daughter and death without wanting anything from me. You are the woman who made my house feel judged by its own silence. You are the person I think of before I make a cruel decision, and the person I fear losing more than the empire men have killed for." His voice roughened. "You are not my redemption. That would be too easy. You are the reason I want to survive long enough to earn one." Elena could not move. He took one step back, giving her distance when every instinct in him wanted to close it. "I will not ask you to belong to me," he said. "I know better now." Her eyes burned. "What will you ask?" A long pause. "May I see my daughter?" That broke her more than any declaration could have. Elena nodded. Sofia saw him in a quiet room with pale blue walls and sunlight on the floor. Dante stood near the doorway like a man approaching judgment. He had faced guns, trials, betrayal, and war, with less fear than he showed before his 6-year-old daughter. Sofia sat on the rug beside Milo, holding a picture book. She looked up. For a moment, no one spoke. Then she stood and walked toward him. Dante lowered himself to one knee, not commanding, not claiming, just waiting. Sofia stopped a few feet away. "Are you leaving?" she asked. Dante's face tightened. "No, cuore mio, not unless you ask me to." "You scared me." His eyes shone. "I know." "You hurt Uncle Luca." "Yes." "He hurt Mama." Dante closed his eyes. "Yes." Sofia looked at Elena, then back at him. "Both true," she whispered. Dante's breath broke. "Yes," he said. "Both true." The child stepped forward and put her arms around his neck. Dante did not move at first, then he held her so carefully it looked like prayer. Elena turned toward the window, giving them privacy, but she could see their reflection in the glass. The feared Mafia Boss on his knees, his daughter in his arms, sunlight touching his bowed head. Weeks passed, not peacefully. Peace did not arrive like a curtain falling. It came in brief, fragile pieces. Sofia started therapy. Elena returned to teaching, though not at the same school. A private academy offered her a position after a public apology from the district. Principal Voss resigned after leaked emails revealed he had sold information to reporters. Dante did not destroy him, Elena noticed. When she asked, Dante said, "You said you did not want to need me for that. And you listened?" "I am learning," he repeated. He took Sofia to school twice a week. The first time, every parent in the drop-off line stopped moving when Dante stepped out of the car in a dark suit, holding a pink backpack covered in cartoon stars. Sofia kissed his cheek before running inside. Elena watched from the school steps. Dante caught her looking. He did not smile. But his eyes warmed in a way that felt more dangerous than any smile. Their romance did not begin with a kiss. It began with boundaries. With Dante asking before entering her apartment. With Elena telling him no and watching him accept it, though every muscle in him fought the word. With dinners where Sofia fell asleep on the sofa and they spoke quietly about ordinary things neither of them knew how to hold. Favorite books, bad coffee, the strange loneliness of being watched by a city that thought it knew their story. One night, thunder rolled over Manhattan. Elena found Dante standing on her balcony, looking down at the street where a black car waited at the curb. "Still watching me?" she asked. He did not deny it. From a legally acceptable distance, she laughed before she could stop herself. The sound surprised both of them. Dante looked at her as if the laugh had struck him somewhere deeper than the bullet had. "What?" she asked. "I have never heard you laugh without pain in it." Her smile faded. He looked away, jaw tight, as if he had revealed too much. Elena stepped beside him. The city glittered below, wet and restless. "Do you still want to own everything you love?" she asked. "Yes." The honesty almost made her smile again. "But," she asked, "but I would rather be allowed near it than own it from a distance." The words settled between them. A softer man would have said them easily. Dante looked like they cost blood. Elena reached for his hand. He went completely still. She threaded her fingers through his. The storm flashed over the skyline. Dante looked down at their joined hands, then at her face. His restraint trembled. He lifted his other hand, slowly, giving her time to refuse. When she did not, his fingertips touched her cheek with such careful reverence it made her chest ache. "Oh, you should tell me to stop," he whispered. "I know. You are not afraid? I am." His eyes darkened with pain. She stepped closer, but not only afraid. That was the closest thing to permission she could give. Dante lowered his forehead to hers. They stayed that way while thunder moved above the city, breathing the same air, not kissing yet, because the almost was its own kind of confession. When the kiss finally came, it was not gentle at first. It was restrained too long. Dante kissed like a man trying not to take more than he was given, and failing only when Elena's hands gripped his coat and pulled him closer. The city vanished. The storm vanished. For one suspended moment, there was no mafia, no bloodline, no surveillance, no public scandal. Only a woman who had stood in front of a classroom door, and a man who had spent his life mistaking control for love. When he pulled back, his voice was rough. "Elena." She touched his jaw. "Don't make a vow you're not ready to keep. I was going to ask if I may kiss you again." Her heart turned over. "Yes." The next kiss was slower, earned. Months later, the old classroom building reopened after renovations. Elena did not return to teach there, but she attended the ceremony because the children had asked for her. They ran to her in the hallway, taller now, louder now, alive in the careless way children should be allowed to be. Parents thanked her. Reporters waited outside, but were kept behind barricades. Dante stood across the street beneath a gray Manhattan sky, one hand holding Sofia's, the other tucked into his coat pocket. He did not cross until Elena looked for him. Then he came. The hallway where they had met had been repainted. The bullet holes were gone, the trophy case replaced. Room 204 had a new door. Sofia walked to it and touched the handle. "Can I see?" she asked. Elena looked at Dante. He nodded. Inside, the classroom smelled like fresh paint and new books. Sunlight spilled over tiny desks. A construction paper sun hung above the whiteboard, brighter than the one before. Sofia stood in the middle of the room. "This is where Miss Hart hid me," she said. Dante's throat moved. "Yes." Sofia looked at Elena. "This is where Papa found me." Elena smiled softly. "Yes." The child thought about that, then took both their hands. Dante's in one, Elena's in the other. "This is where we started," she said. Dante looked at Elena over their daughter's head. Their daughter. The thought came uninvited, impossible, and warm. Elena did not look away. Outside, cameras flashed through the rain-streaked windows. The world would tell whatever story it wanted. Teacher and mafia boss, scandal and violence, danger and obsession. It would never understand the smaller truth inside the larger one. That love had not made Dante Moretti harmless. Love had made him choose, again and again. Not perfectly, not gently, not without shadows, but with devotion fierce enough to change the shape of his life. That evening, after the ceremony, they drove to the edge of the Hudson, where the city lights trembled on the water. Sofia slept in the back seat, Milo curled in her lap inside a carrier, because she had insisted he come too. Dante parked beneath an old bridge and stepped out into the cold. Elena joined him by the railing. For a while, they watched Manhattan glow. "Do you miss it?" she asked. "The power? The fear?" Dante considered. "No." She looked at him. He said, "Fear is easy. It asks nothing of me. And love." His eyes found hers. "Love asks me to become someone who deserves to stay." The answer moved through her quietly. Elena leaned against him. Dante wrapped his coat around her shoulders. The old possessive instinct still there, but softened now by permission, by trust, by the knowledge that she could step away, and he would let her. She felt his lips brush her hair. Across the river, Manhattan glittered like a dangerous promise. Behind them, Sofia stirred in the car and murmured in her sleep. Dante turned instantly. Elena smiled. "She's fine." He looked embarrassed by the reflex, which made her love him more than any grand confession could have. Elena took his hand. "Come on," she said. "Let's take our daughter home." Dante stilled. Our daughter. The word struck him harder than any bullet, any betrayal, any crown of power his family had ever tried to place on his head. He did not speak for several seconds. Then his fingers tightened around hers. Not trapping, holding. The mafia boss who once shut down Manhattan for his daughter looked at the woman who had hidden the child in her classroom, and for the first time in his life, the city did not feel like something he needed to control. It felt like something he might survive. Together, they walked back to the car through the river fog, 3 shadows and a sleeping child, leaving behind the sirens, the blood, the old family sins, and the ruined empire that had tried to own them. Above Manhattan, the rain finally stopped. And in the quiet after the storm, Dante Moretti opened the car door for Elena Hart like a man who had learned that devotion was not possession. It was choosing to protect her freedom, even when every dark part of him wanted to hold on forever.